Okay. Hello, this is my audience for my final presentation. This is Carly and Marshall Greer, and they were able to look over my website and provide insight to it, and they answered the questions from the worksheet we were supposed to do. And the first question was about the five ideas that they would like to know more about. And you guys wanted to learn more about the Buddhist culture and how they're becoming more modernized and clean, and about religious persecution, and see if the U.S. has sponsored any efforts over in Bhutan, and how the Vietnam War affected Bhutan. And I was actually really interested why you guys picked the Vietnam War. Like, what made you?
That was me. I picked the Vietnam War. Just because I study military history, specifically one of the time periods is the Vietnam War era. And so I was just curious, with Bhutan being a Southeast Asian country, how they adjusted to turmoil in that geographic area. I'm just assuming that there was some. I actually don't know much about the Vietnam War affecting countries outside of Vietnam, besides the United States. But I'm assuming, because they're very similar socially and economically, things like that, that there was probably some kind of effect.
Yeah, I actually found that very interesting too, and why you said that. But going along with one of the ones you chose about the religious persecution, I really didn't research a lot about that, but I do remember seeing a video a while ago about a Buddhist lighting himself on fire. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's really interesting to me because people were persecuting the Buddhists, and they were killing them, and he stood as a symbol for all the Buddhists, and basically saying, when people persecute them, it's not okay.
Wasn't he I think he was protesting against the same communist regime that we fought in Vietnam.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. But I just found it really interesting, and even though it wasn't in Bhutan, he was still, symbolizing them, because Bhutan is mainly a Buddhist country. That's their main religion. So, I'm glad you guys brought that up.
Is there a lot of religious persecution in Bhutan?
Like I said, I don't know a lot because I didn't really research about that, but I just, that example just clicked in my head. Yeah, but like I said, and I hope you guys saw on my website that it is the happiest country.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's really good people there. So.
All the Buddhists are super nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I bet the religion has a lot to do with them being able to be happy.
Yeah, I do too.
Even despite the fact it's one of the poorest countries in the world too, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's poor. Interesting that they're very poor, but they're very happy.
Yeah.
That's
and
something that
did
we
you
can
guys
learn
see in
from
my
them.
book, they live off only $1.25 a day?
Yes.
It's just crazy how blessed we are.
I know. It's crazy how much we take for granted.
Yeah. And the second question, it was mostly about the Millennium Development Goals. And you guys picked some very interesting goals that you would like to have. And they were sexual health education, vaccination, mental health, animal welfare, culture acceptance, and responsible health care practice. So I want to talk about the culture acceptance a little bit. Why did you guys choose that?
Well, America particularly has this idea that we have the best, greatest culture on the planet, and we, in goodwill, try and force it on other people. But a lot of other cultures have that as well, and it creates, hate crimes. It creates a lot of terrorism. So understanding and learning about culture is a very fundamental point in unifying both individuals and groups together, as they know, and share this common cultural basis makes them stronger. But we can also unify on a national and global basis as people learn and accept each other's cultures.
Yeah, I think if you put it into a spiritual perspective too, being culturally tolerant just helps you be able to understand that even though we're all different and we all do things differently, and some of that's determined by geography, some of it's determined by innate personality traits, some of it's from our upbringing, but being tolerant helps us be more like Christ would be, and remember that even though we're different, we're all children of God.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I saw that you guys put this, like, that was my focus too, that, help us, focus on loving people.
Yeah, one of the articles of faith just talks about, we believe letting everyone, regardless of who they are in their culture, to practice their beliefs and their religion and culture however fit they want.
I can't quote that.
No? Can you quote it?
Primary dropout. I'm not going to quote it when I'm being filmed.
Okay.
But yeah, I probably could.
One I found interesting that you guys put too was animal welfare. I never thought about how that could help our economy.
I just think it's a quote by Gandhi that actually made me think of that aspect of it, which is interesting because he's also Indian Asian. And he said that the morality of a society can best be judged by how we treat our animals. And I think that's insightful because, in America and all over the world, but even in America, where we're considered to be so advanced and so blessed and so ahead of the game, in regards to pretty much everything, the fact that there's still rampant animal abuse and just misuse and things like that, I think really goes to show how far we have to go. And in my mind, it's like if you can't treat something well that can do nothing for you, I think that that's the best measure of character. When there's something that's so helpless that can do nothing to benefit you, if you're able to treat that thing well, in the case of a lot of animals, I think that shows how far you've come and developed as a person. And I just think that if we can't be good to all of the things around us, how are we going to be able to accomplish these millennial type goals of being good to other people? Because it's way harder to be nice to lots of people that you communicate with and have disagreements with and things than it is to be kind to, I guess you would call them lower life forms, those things that we have stewardship over.
Yeah.
Well, Joseph Smith even, I think it was with the Mormon Battalion,
Yeah.
he told everyone
not to
kill the rattlesnakes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because they were chopping, the rattlesnakes would come and sleep with the men at night when they tented up because rattlesnakes want to keep warm at night. And so people would wake up finding snakes next to them and they'd freak out and they'd want to chop off their heads or whatever. And yeah, Joseph Smith specifically told people, you can pick them up and let them go. He told them not to kill them. And so I think that, from a spiritual, celestial, godlike standpoint, I don't know, that just shows that you should treat every living thing kindly. Not just people. It's important to treat people kindly, but you should treat every living thing kindly.
So one of the commands given to Adam, everyone thinks in the Garden of Eden they are supposed to multiply and replenish the earth.
That's after they left.
Okay, after they left. But he gave Adam stewardship over the entire earth. And that includes, environmental factors and animal welfare. He is a steward, and as that applies to us, we are stewards over both the environment and over animals and agriculture and plants, and we're stewards of all these things.
Yeah. Well, I just really found that interesting. I agree with everything you guys say, but I've never thought about that way. And when we talk about this stuff in class, animals were never brought up.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that it's not on a lot of people's radars.
Never.
Not that that's a bad thing, because it is kind of a fringe, I guess, deal,
but it's still important to remember.
Yeah, I think that it's just one aspect of being able to be kind to the whole earth. That sounds super hippie, but Marshall was going back to having stewardship over things. God gave us stewardship over everything on the earth, and we need to do our best to take care of the people, the animals, everything.
Yeah. Another one that I liked that you guys said was mental health. And it just brings me back to the example of, who was the guy's name that shot all those
Oh, the Sandy Hook shooter.
Hook, yeah.
I don't remember his
I
name.
don't
And-
remember his name.
Adam something, maybe. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys think of any like other examples that?
Well, the one just in the news recently, the
German pilot.
yeah, the German wings
Yeah.
pilot. Did you hear about that?
A little bit, but I wasn't.
The co-pilot, who we now know had a history of mental health issues, but hid them from people because getting treatment for mental health issues is very stigmatized.
He could potentially, lose
Lose
his
job
and
or- yeah.
career and all of his dreams.
They could mark
and-
him unfit to fly, things like that. So he hid it, but it escalated, and I guess that he was suffering from severe depression, and because of that, he took over the controls and crashed a plane into the French Alps, and now 150 people are dead. So I think that where the mental health aspect comes from for me is I just wonder how things may have turned out differently if it wouldn't have been such a huge deal for him to go and get treatment.
Yeah.
Because I think people forget that a person who has depression or bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or OCD or anything, they have just as little control over their condition as someone with diabetes or cancer. But in their case, it's so much harder to get treatment, and people think that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, they think that it's Shutter Island and you're all criminally insane.
Well, and it's important for us to just understand that they're just like us. I mean,
Yeah.
even though they may have, these trials in their life, but they are still just like us.
Everyone has trials, and some of them are physical.
Yeah,
and some
sickness
them
of the mind is just as common and as
crippling.
disabling, as diabetes or asthma. It is a literal brain condition that makes you act or think differently.
Isn't that what Elder Holland said in his talk a few conferences ago?
The depression